The vision is about creating in your mind the possibility, the opportunity, the desire, and taking aligned action to feed and nurture that desire. When you learn to catch the emotion, catch the energy, catch the moments that connect to that vision, then all of a sudden you start to enjoy life completely differently.
Listen up, people. That's right. It's time to listen to the sparks of bliss in your life. I'm your host and life coach, Caroline de Posada from Miami, Florida. And this podcast is an invitation to join me in upgrading our mindset, wellness, and relationships so that together we create a life that unlocks our bliss. Join me each week as we explore practical strategies, inspiring stories, and the moments of clarity, or as we like to call them, los momenticos, that make the world a little more magical. Consider this your weekly dose of wisdom in your pocket. Are you ready? Let's do this.
Hey, Bliss'ner. Welcome to episode number 62 of Bliss'n Up. So today I'm going to start this podcast a little differently than I have in the past. You see, when I work with one-on-one coaching clients, one of the first things that I do in our sessions is that I invite my client to take a deep breath with me and set an intention for our time together. And today, it occurred to me that I always set an intention before the podcast, but I wanted to bring you into that intention with me, into that intention practice, because setting intentions before you do something is one of the most powerful exercises you can do, and I want you to be a part of it. So I invite you to take a deep breath with me. Arrive at this moment, and I will set the intention that I will share with you today a story about enjoying life, about finding the sparks of bliss within your life, and that you may receive from that story what you need to develop your skill in enjoying your life. You see, if you listened to last week's episode, we named the theme for the Bliss'n Up community for July. And the theme, the collective theme, is enjoy. Now, you are always invited to adopt the same theme that I have chosen for the community. But if you want to have your own theme, that works too. You know, there's no rules here. There's no formulas. You get to find the theme that best serves the energy you want to step into the month. But even if your theme is not enjoy, I still think this is an important skill set to develop, because this podcast is all about helping you find or create a life that helps you find the sparks of bliss that are already within you. And enjoyment is one of the ways that we do that. And I think somewhere along the way, we kind of lose touch with enjoying life. We forget how to enjoy life. We get caught up in the noise, in the distraction, in the chaos of life. Sometimes you get caught up in worry or in fear or in control. Sometimes you get caught up in circumstances that are painful or sad, and you start to get disconnected from your joy. And enjoying is a connection to your joy. But I believe that even though life is hard, and even though sometimes tragedy strikes, sometimes things get bad, there's always something in the world that is negative, we can always tap into a moment of enjoyment, to a spark of bliss when we learn how to pay attention and notice and look for those moments. I have developed the skill of visualizing the kind of life that I want to create, taking action in support of that life and noticing and enjoying when that life comes to life. Like when I see that I am living the life that I have designed, and I don't always see it, right? Like there's days that I don't catch it, but there are moments where you see it, and if you notice it and you catch it, it has a carryover effect. It carries you through till the next moment. Even though the rest of your life can still be chaotic and you still get caught up in the daily grind and you still have an issue here and there or worry about something or whatever. But whenever you have those moments and you catch them, it's important to hold on to them, to savor them and allow them to carry you through to the next one. And then there is one killer of all joy, huge killer of all joy. And I want to make sure that you don't get caught up in that killer. So I'm going to share with you the story first, and then I'll tell you what the killer is. Okay. So recently I had an experience that I want to share with you, but I have to give you some context so you kind of understand how this moment came together. So the context is that I am Cuban and raised Cuban, and my whole life I've been raised very connected to my culture. And when I mean connected, it's like I was born into a very Cuban environment. My girlfriends and I were talking about this recently because we're first generation Americans, right? So our parents immigrated to this country, and therefore we grew up very connected to our parents' culture, which is Cuban. How this looked like was, to give you an example, for dinner every night, I would eat arroz con frijoles negro and pollo or carne, rice, black beans, and a steak or chicken. That was like a staple in our home. That's the only thing we ate. I didn't grow up eating vegetables. I didn't grow up, conscious about balanced meals or anything like that. It was just like I always had this was like my menu every single day. Another example is I grew up speaking primarily Spanish in the home because my grandparents didn't speak any English, and my parents had immigrated to this country, but their primary language is Spanish. So I grew up predominantly speaking Spanish in the home. I mean, there's other examples, but those are the two big ones. And I've noticed that my children are not growing up with the same connection to their Cuban culture. They still identify as Cuban and they still have some connections. They, just like me, their first language was Spanish. It's just that once they started to get into school years, since their parents' native language at this point is English, then we don't really speak Spanish in the home anymore. So they don't have as much exposure. They have some exposure, but not much exposure. The same thing goes for the food. Their parents have grown up in an environment where we are very health conscious. So we eat a lot of vegetables, we eat cleaner, and the menu of arroz con frijoles negros and whatever is not our daily meals anymore, right? So I look at my children and I think they are growing up more American than Cuban, right? They're Cuban American, but they're growing up more American than Cuban. And I always want to connect them to their culture. So one of the things that I have in my head is salsa parties. I know, it's random. But I think to myself, what would be a fun way for my kids to be exposed and connected to their Cubanness? And I think of a salsa party. Like you have a party at night and then you have salsa music playing and everybody's dancing salsa. And if the older generation is invited, they're all speaking Spanish. And I always think to myself, like, I want my kids growing up in that environment where if they're at a party, they're like listening to salsa music and the Spanish speaking and all this kind of stuff so that they love their culture, so that they fall in love with being Cuban. And I've always had that in my head. And I've like had it on my to-do list to host a salsa party in my house, which I have not done at all. Okay, so that's the context. Now, fast forward, last week, it was my sister's 56th birthday. And this birthday in particular was very special for two reasons. One is because this is the first birthday she was celebrating post-amputation. Last year, she celebrated her birthday in a hospital bed pending an amputation. So this is the first year that she's healthy and strong and has changed her life and her habits and her lifestyle, which is, there's a lot to celebrate. And two, my niece, who lives in Sweden, was going to be in town for her birthday. So she was going to be here with my grandnephew and niece. She was going to be here with her husband. And the whole family was going to get together to not only celebrate my sister, but also to see my niece. So I asked my sister what she wanted to do for her birthday. And she suggested we have a gathering at my house because I have a pool, and she thought the little kids that, they live in Sweden and they never get a chance to get in the pool, and my kids would enjoy spending a summer day in the pool, right? So we agreed to have a party at my house, and it was going to be a pool party. Perfect. Now, the party starts, and the first thing that happens in the party is that I see my sister changing into her bathing suit. She takes off her cover up and she has a bathing suit underneath. Never had I ever witnessed my sister getting into my pool. I have lived in my home for over 10 years. And in those 10 years, my sister has never been physically capable of getting into the pool. So right there, it was like the most magical moment ever. I felt such deep appreciation to be able to witness my sister getting in the pool. Right after that, my mom followed suit and she got in the pool. And then my brother got in the pool, the kids got in the pool, my kids got in the pool, everybody was in the pool. Then I thought, well, we need to make this more exciting. So I need to put some music on. I run over to the little boombox, I connect it to my phone, and I start playing, of course, salsa music, right? To make it lively and fun. It's a summer day, and I'm playing live salsa music. I serve all of the food on the table, and that day, randomly, my husband had been at work, and a client brought him pastelitos and croquetas. Now, if you don't know what pastelitos and croquetas are, Cuban staple. You have to go to a bakery to get them. But these pastelitos and croquetas are like a big thing of being Cuban. We never buy pastelitos and croquetas because I don't eat pastelitos anymore, and they're not that healthy. They're full of sugar, so we never buy them. But on this day, the client brings my husband out of nowhere a tray of pastelitos and croquetas as a gift. And my husband's like, he doesn't know what to do with it. And then he thought, oh, there's a party in my house today. I'll just take it to the party. So my husband walks in and puts the pastelitos and the croquetas on the table. Oh, my uncle arrives, and my uncle's sitting there talking with my grandmother, my grandfather's wife, who's still alive and only speaks Spanish. So my uncle's speaking with her in Spanish. Everybody's in the pool, and everybody's together. And all of a sudden, I step out of the pool and I look around and I notice the moment. I capture it. You see, in that moment, I saw my visualization. I saw my children sharing with their family inside the pool, my mom and my sister laughing, my uncle and my grandmother speaking in Spanish. The Spanish music was lively and fun. There was salsa. That salsa energy was everywhere. Everyone was united. There was so much to celebrate, so much to be grateful for, and so much to enjoy in that moment. And I caught it. I literally caught it. And in that moment, I experienced a spark of bliss. Now, what could have happened in that moment? What could have happened in that moment is I could have been worried about one thing or another. The balloons didn't arrive on time. I forgot to get my sister a cake. In that moment, I could have been worried that my kids were playing too rough. I just could have been caught up in a bunch of different things in that moment that were not perfect, because there is no perfect moment in life, right? So I could have been caught up in that moment. And I also could have missed the moment because I didn't notice or didn't connect it to the visualization. You see, forever I had the whole salsa thing in my head, the salsa dancing, the salsa party, whatever. And I could still today be thinking, well, I still have to throw a salsa party. I still have to do that, because sometimes we create outcomes and we're so attached to the outcomes that even though we are experiencing the moment, we miss it because it doesn't look exactly like we expected it to look. There is the skill set. The killer of all enjoyment is unmet expectations. Expectations are the belief that a future should look a certain way, that it should be something that you have thought about in your head. When we are married to our expectations, we are often disappointed. So sometimes we create a vision in our minds and we hold on to the vision, but we hold on to that vision with the expectation that the vision must be exact for it to come true. And that's not actually necessary. The vision is about stepping into the energy of the moment. The vision is about creating in your mind the possibility, the opportunity, the desire, and taking aligned action to feed and nurture that desire. When you learn to catch the emotion, catch the energy, catch the moments that connect to that vision, then all of a sudden you start to enjoy life completely differently. Expectations are about control, about predictability. Enjoyment is about noticing. It's about experiencing. It's about connecting the dots. So that moment for me was a complete and total spark of bliss. But it was a complete and total spark of bliss because I was not attached to any particular outcome. I didn't have any specific expectations. I was simply noticing and experiencing the moment. Actually, there was one expectation that I did have and that I almost got caught up in. So one of my expectations was that my husband was going to be at the party, right? Like that was my expectation. I wanted my husband to be at the party, and I assumed that he would be at the party. However, I was hosting this party on a Monday, and my husband has a job. He works. So when I tell him the night before, hey, don't forget tomorrow is Kathy's party, he's like, well, what time is it at? And I said, 11 in the morning. He's like, did you forget that it's a Monday? Like, does anybody work here? Well, in this particular birthday party, everyone was here from out of town. I blocked my calendar for that day. And I knew that my husband had court in the morning, but I had texted him previously and told him to hold on to that date, like not to pack anything for that date because we were going to have this party on that day, right? So I just expected, I thought he had understood that it was going to be a day party, but he didn't fully read my text and didn't quite get the memo. So when he learned that it was at 11 in the morning, he was like, oh my God, but I have a full day of work. He hadn't like blocked out the day. So I said to him, listen, I'm going to move the party to 1. You get your work done in the morning and then I'll see you in the afternoon. Like get there whenever you can get there, right? But my expectation was that he was going to get there as quick as possible. That's what I wanted him to do. So I am in this party and I'm having this spark of bliss and the moment is absolutely perfect. But I'm looking around and my husband isn't there yet. So I get up and I go to my text message and I'm like, hey, I'm so happy everybody's in the pool. What time are you coming? To which he responds, I have a 4 o'clock. Now the party started at 1. It's now 2:30. And he responded, I have a 4 o'clock. And in that moment, I wanted to kill him. I was like, a 4 o'clock. Of course, the first thing that went through my head is, you don't love me. You don't love my family. I don't know. I went through all these like negative emotions in my head, which is couldn't be further from the truth because I know he loves me and I know he loves my family. But in that moment, like the first thoughts that went through were not positive thoughts. So I was super upset about this. I looked at the text and I was going to respond something ugly, but instead I responded 4 p.m. ? And then he wrote back and said, yeah, I should be home by 5. Now, I didn't want to be nice in that moment. I wanted to write my husband scathing text message, letting him know how much he had hurt my feelings, how disappointed I was that he was not going to be there, and how he had not met my expectations. Because of course, I had unmet expectations. But I have learned in my life that before you react to something, you need to pause and you need to reassess and take a moment. So rather than responding, I put the phone down. I didn't respond. I put the phone down and I went back in the pool and I started to reframe my mindset. And I said, okay, Caro, your husband is a wonderful husband. He doesn't typically miss events. You're doing this party on a Monday, which is a work day. The man has a job with a lot of responsibilities. He has participated in funding this beautiful day. He funds that through his hard-earned work. If he shows up at 5, you enjoy the moment. You enjoy it when he gets here at 5. Release this. This doesn't have to ruin the whole day. So I kind of like reworked that in my head. And I took some deep breaths. And then I was getting out of the pool because I thought, well, maybe I should just let him know that I'm disappointed, but that I understand, but I am disappointed. Because I was like, you do have to express your own feelings. You do have to show that you are disappointed about this. So I was like, now that I'm calm, I'm going to just go tell him that my feelings are hurt, but that I understand. And as I was walking out of the pool, the sliding glass door opens and he shows up. So it turns out he wanted to torture me and he lied. He texted me from the driveway and told me that he had an appointment at 4 because he knew that I wanted him to be there as quickly as possible because I had communicated it quite clearly the day before. So when he walked in through the door, I looked at him and I was so relieved that he was there. And I'm like, oh my God, I was so hurt. And he said, I know. I just wanted to torture you a little bit. I was just joking. Of course, I did not book a 4 p.m. session today. And he gave me a kiss, and then that was it. And then my spark of bliss grew even more because I was even more excited about the moment. So yes, sometimes we have distractions or interruptions or some expectation we had was unmet. But even if my husband had not arrived until 5 p.m., I would have still caught that moment. It wouldn't have been as intense because of that, but I would have still caught it and I would have still enjoyed it for what it was. because expectations are the belief that things should be a certain way. Enjoyment is accepting the moment as it is and catching and noticing when it is in alignment with your values, priorities, desires, principles, with the life that you are designing and creating for yourself. So today, I invite you to pay attention this summer. Pay attention to those moments. Can you catch them? Can you catch the moment that is in alignment with the life that you have designed? Maybe it's you are home for the summer because you're a teacher and you are home for the summer with your kids and you get to enjoy a pool day with your kids because you don't have to go to work that day. And you get to enjoy the fact that you have designed a life that gives you a free summer. Maybe you are launching a product and you are enjoying the fruits of your labor. And maybe there's hiccups, maybe there's problems, maybe it's not it doesn't always have to be perfect. But can you catch the moments where your product is coming to life and you realize that you are living your dream? Maybe it's your marriage. You are enjoying a relationship that you've worked so hard for. Maybe it's you are enjoying your health because you've worked so hard to lose weight, improve your habits, get fit, and you want to enjoy that moment. Don't miss the moments, even if they're not perfect, even if they're interrupted, even if there's noise and chaos. Whenever you capture the energy, enjoy it. And if it doesn't look exactly like the vision you had in your mind, you get to ask yourself, my vision is this or better. Is this better? And chances are, it is probably even better than you could have hoped, because a dream come true is often better in real life than what you could have imagined for yourself. So I hope this has served you and inspired you, and I hope you will spend July enjoying the life that you are designing with me. And if you need a little support in connecting the dots in your own life, if you need a little support in designing a life that you want to enjoy, I'm your girl. So make sure you book a consult and let's have a conversation. So that's all I've got for you. Have a sacred Sunday, and I will see you next week. That's it for today's episode. Thanks so much for being here. I am deeply, deeply grateful for this time to connect. If you're loving this podcast, I'd love if you could support me by subscribing, rating, and/or leaving a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Those reviews help us so much. And if you know of someone who could really use a voice like mine in their head, please share this with them and let them know how much you care about their bliss. Now, if you are feeling called to dig deeper and really work on elevating your mindset, wellness, and your relationships to create a healthier, happier, and more meaningful life, then I invite you to schedule a 60-minute complimentary consultation with me. Let's have a meaningful conversation and see if working together is in our future. You can find the link to the calendar of consults right there in my show notes, but you can also connect with me on my website, carolinedeposada.com, or just send me a DM on Instagram @CarolineDeposada. Like my friend always says, the project is big and you're a part of it. So thanks for being here.